As Ukraine prepares to intensify its attacks inside Russia, a terrified Putin is left reeling. Ukraine's top military official said Vladimir Putin, who is currently struggling to stay in power, will face greater opposition from Ukraine to Russia. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, Valery Zelensky, warned Vladimir Putin that Kyiv would intensify its attacks on Russian territory. In an interview with the Washington Post, Commander Zelensky said that more attacks on Russian soil are needed, even if Western allies oppose it. He said that if Western cooperation stops the use of Ukrainian weapons in Russia, Ukraine will attack Russia with its weapons. In a rare interview, Ukraine's military chief complained that the United States has banned Ukraine from using long-range missiles and is forcing the Ukrainian military to attack targets on Russian soil. He said, "Why would I seek permission from others to do anything in enemy territory to save my people? Why? Because Putin will use nuclear weapons? Dying children are neglected." He continued, "This is our problem. How we kill this enemy is up to us. In war it is possible and necessary to kill in one's own country. A very clever enemy. Smart and very cunning. He's still strong. So you have to respect him and find a way to kill him. Because that's the only way to win." Professor Michael Clark, Minister of Defense and Security, told Sky News earlier today that President Putin's reputation in Russia is declining. This comes after President Putin confirmed this week that his bid to replace Yevgeny Prigozhin as commander of Ukraine's Wagner fighters had failed. The statement made by the Russian leader has already confirmed that Wagner is continuing negotiations for the purchase of the mercenary organization. Kyrylo Budanov, head of Ukraine's Defense Intelligence Agency, said he had sources in his office close to the Russian leader. Mr. Budanov said, "We have our own place. So most of us know what's going on." He said that Ukrainian intelligence obstructed an internal investigation by the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs, showing Russia's support for Mr. Prigozhin. Kaiser, spokesman for the anti-Putin group in Kyiv, told The Guardian, "This will be our third mission. Then there will be the fourth and fifth. We have an ambitious plan. We want to escape from our own territory." Russia has had another self-attack this week after announcing on Wednesday that it would withdraw its troops from several areas south of Kherson. Other Ukrainians, on the other hand, were banned from the message, saying it was important not to be dissatisfied with Russia's withdrawal. Officials questioned whether Russia's announcement of withdrawal was a hoax designed to trap Ukrainian troops. Zelensky said that Ukraine had acted extremely carefully, without thinking and without taking unnecessary risks, in order to both save the whole country and minimize the loss of life, and left the war. He noted that this means silence about the details of the job, and "we are still preparing with the protection of the job." Kherson's military withdrawal brought further embarrassment to Russian President Vladimir Putin, who went unnoticed yesterday when he announced Russia's withdrawal. At the end of September, Putin welcomed the annexation of the Kherson region after the failed coup attempt and said that the inhabitants will forever be our citizens. 6 weeks later, those promises sound empty. A large sign with the Ukrainian flag on a tall building in the center of Vilnius, the capital of Lithuania, reads, "Putin, The Hague is waiting for you." In the municipal bus, electronic equipment reported vibration at the scene. And preach love for Ukraine with a small heart. Joining Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, and Poland this week, their governments have banned all Russian tourists while opposing the currency in Ukraine, as they should not enjoy freedom and democracy in Europe. This move caused concern in the Russian opposition abroad. It is strange that people are banned because they are Russian, whether they support Putin or not, said activist Anastasia Shevchenko, who was sentenced to 2 years in prison for protesting the Russian president. When Russia attacked its neighbors, his sentence was suspended, and one wrong move or even a counterattack could put him in jail. But Anastasia could not keep quiet, so she packed her family's life into a few boxes and they fled to Lithuania at midnight. Anastasia told me in Vilnius, "What's happening in Russia right now is like a complete panic. Many people are afraid because we know they can do something. It's not just jail or fines, you can be killed or poisoned. It's like a big prison. Across the country." Vladimir Putin has announced the partial participation of Russian reservists in the first real test of his support for the invasion since we spoke. Early symptoms are not good. Or even Putin from the trenches. More than 1,000 people were arrested, some of them searched from the police station. Both said not registering was not grounds for asylum. Lithuania will decide the situation individually, but the president has made it clear that it is not the responsibility of other countries to rescue the fleeing Russians. If these people did not oppose the killing of Ukrainian civilians, then the Ukrainians will not sympathize with those who are now against conscription. Even the Russian victims are viewed by some as cowards, because their risk of going up against President Putin is nothing compared to military bombing. But these opponents say it's not that simple. Yes, we feel this responsibility. We must use this opportunity to change our country, he said. But how can the Russians in Russia stop Putin? Is out of the question. Mr. Gudkov, who left Moscow long before the war, said that he was warned to leave Moscow or go to jail. Today, all notables of the Russian opposition have been arrested, killed, or exiled. At a party recently held in Vilnius, there was a slogan on stage calling on foreigners to be brave like Ukraine, but the atmosphere was subdued with a slight resignation. Now, many people rely on Ukraine to do what they cannot do to maintain peace in Russia, defeat Putin. I think the West should increase military aid to Ukraine, which is the only option, said Mr. Gudkov. Alexei Navalny's team agreed, but went one step further. Since the political activist was imprisoned, many members of his team moved to Vilnius to avoid prosecution as terrorists. Putin made his biggest mistake when he invaded Ukraine. Navalny's right-hand man, Leonid Volkov, told me. Volkov tweeted, "No one is against Russia, no one needs quarantine and death." But on February 24th, a madman took his country to the end. Mr. Navalny's team tried to weaken the war support on YouTube. Since the intervention, the number of viewers watching the program produced in Vilnius has doubled. They are still pushing the West for more sanctions, a visa ban for the whole country. Given what Mr. Volkov calls the war, a list of over 6,000 names such as judges and state journalists, They hope that Ukraine's friends will go beyond President Putin's immediate neighbors. We urge Western governments to think about all these people and give them an idea, tell them what they need to do to get off the list, Volkov said. Putin's system will not work, he added. Since then, Russian troops have had to withdraw from large areas of Ukraine, and President Putin has responded as usual to issue another nuclear warning. The Russian president has invested a lot in this campaign, and things seem to be getting worse. Left her to squirm with guilt for not doing much to stop her opponent Anastasia Shevchenko. I blame myself, this is not good, believe me, he admitted. The decision to leave Russia, however, was finalized when his son had to write a victory letter to the army at university. Instead, he told them they had no right to attack their neighbors. I think the only thing we can do as the Russian people right now is to apologize and fight against Vladimir Putin, said Anastasia. Because all this is because of Putin himself. Why so many people died.